Hey, Braves fans, Jason here with you from the 9521 Atlanta Baseball Podcast. Doing a live episode tonight, a special episode. We typically record our episodes on Monday night for release on Tuesdays, but wanted to do a live episode, obviously, with the kind of emotional roller coaster week for us Braves fans, especially us longtime Braves fans. And if you haven't joined us before and you haven't seen us, it's obvious that I'm from the TBS generation. And so Ted Turner, Bobby Cox, super important figures in my young Braves fandom and throughout my teenage and early adulthood years. So just wanted to do this one live and include anyone who wanted to share some thoughts about either of those two gentlemen or, of course, the current team. We're going to talk about the great start that our Braves are off to as well. So if you haven't seen us before or tuned in, and even if you have, you know that I have a co-host, Mike Simpson. He'll be joining us shortly as well. And to give his thoughts, we are both the same age and both grew up watching the Braves on TBS and have been through all the ups and downs and successes. And, of course, just feels like a little bit like a piece of our childhood is gone now. Especially with the passing of Bobby, but Ted as well. Ted Turner played a huge role in what we now know is our Atlanta Braves. Without Ted, of course, there would be a lot of Braves fans, or there wouldn't be a lot of Braves fans out there that became Braves fans because of TBS and Turner Sports. And Mike is one of those. My co-host is Mike is native to Boston, still lives in that area, and became a Braves fan because he could watch them on television every night. So there's one example of many, and having been on social media now for about 3 years as a content creator, talking to a lot of fans from around the country, met a lot of Braves fans who live in all parts of the country because of TBS and Ted Turner. And so we share a lot in common, even if we don't live close together. So Mike will be joining us soon, and we'll get his thoughts, of course. And then we'll do what we normally do on our show, which is kind of briefly recap the week that was for the Braves on the field. And, of course, it was a good week. Lost their first series, but bounced back with a huge series win over the two-time defending champion LA Dodgers. So if you're watching us on X, please feel free, or YouTube. We're on both right now. We're streaming live. Please feel free to leave a comment. We'll see it, and we're happy to respond. And I made the offer on X as well that if you want to join us on camera, then just let me know, and we will definitely get you on. If you want to share some thoughts or memories about Bobby or Ted, or when we get into the show here in a little bit, if you want to share thoughts about where the current Braves are. Obviously, a tremendous start for the 2026 Braves, and seen a lot of people drawing parallels to 2021 when we lost Hank in the spring of that year and went on to win a World Series. So we can only hope that history repeats itself. And certainly this team is giving us vibes that it could be that good. So in honor of Bobby and the era that we're talking about tonight, I've got my Greg Maddux kind of a throwback spring training type jersey here tonight. I don't wear this one very often, but broke out the Maddux jersey. And while we're waiting on Mike, I'll start with a great story I heard. It's kind of more of a Maddux story, but I think it shows how Bobby handled, especially the star players, because he had so many of them on his teams, and kind of let them be themselves, even when it may not have aligned with Bobby's wishes. And many of you may have seen or heard this story recently. It was actually Chipper telling the story of a game against I believe he was with the Diamondbacks at that point. Greg Maddux is pitching to Luis Gonzalez, and it was in a situation where Bobby wanted Greg to walk Gonzalez and not pitch to him. And so Bobby sent out longtime pitching coach, and if you've been around the Braves, you remember rocking Leo Mazzoni, to tell Greg to walk Luis Gonzalez. And Leo got out to the mound, and Greg said, I don't want to walk him. If Bobby will give me 2 pitches, I will make Luis pop up to third. And Mazzoni trudges back to the dugout knowing that Bobby's not going to be happy, and he was not. Bobby, according to Chipper, was pretty irate at Greg. And so Greg throws the first pitch to Gonzalez, and it's low and away. And then the next pitch, he throws it kind of lower in the zone, and Gonzalez pops it straight up to third base, and Chipper makes the catch. And Chipper said afterwards that Bobby and Leo were just looking at each other like, can you believe that? And I won't use the word, but I think it's a great example. First of all, the greatness of Greg Maddux being able to tell someone how he's going to get somebody out. Greg was that good. He knew where to put the ball. He knew how to locate he wanted to pitch to contact. Greg was not, of course, a big strikeout guy. He wanted to pitch to contact, get them to roll out, pop out. And he did that very well. And this was a great example. But also a great example of Bobby's patience with the star players, I think, and not pulling Maddux out of the game. And I think after that incident, he just said, you know what? That's Greg, right? Greg has the ability to do that, and he did it. So a great story. And that's one thing that's come out of the last few days, and I know a lot of you, if you're on social media, you've seen it too, just great stories from former players who have shared their memories of Bobby and how he respected them and treated them like professionals and treated them like grown men. And, just a lot of adoration, a lot of admiration for Bobby, and just, an outpouring of support from all over baseball. For Hall of Famer Bobby Cox, the fourth winningest manager all time. He's in some really good company with Connie Mack, Tony La Russa, John McGraw, and just ahead of Joe Torre. So pretty good company when you're talking about the greatest managers of all time. And, of course, Bobby has a whole season's worth of ejections. He was known for being a fiery guy with the umpires, defending his players, standing up for his players, even when he probably thought they were wrong. And Bobby would go out there, and I think the umpires had a respect for Bobby as well, even though they had to throw him out. There's a great video of Bobby. He threw out a first pitch for a Braves game after his retirement, and he's kind of talking to the umpires after that, and one of the umpires, throws him out of the game, mockingly, and they have a good laugh, and that just speaks a lot, I think, to the respect that even though he probably got in a lot of those guys' faces and yelled at them and maybe even threw some spittle at them, they still respected Bobby, and they knew that he was out there standing up for his players. And there's a lot of great stories that, I'm sure a lot of you have seen, just like I have this week. And in regards to, fighting for your players, I know one that Brian McCann shared. It was on social media, so you may have seen it, but McCann recalled a time that he took a strike, and I guess he was about to get ejected. Bobby came out, and McCann didn't think it was a strike. He was arguing. Bobby came out, kind of took the heat for him. Bobby gets thrown out, and Brian said after the game they were watching the replay, and it was clearly a strike. McCann was wrong, and Bobby said, kids, you owe me $500 for the fine that I'm going to get for being thrown out. But in the moment and in front of the umpires, in front of the crowd, Bobby was going to stand up for his team and stand up for his players. And then, afterwards, though, he would let them know, you were wrong. But Bobby commanded a lot of respect. And for those of us who grew up on the Braves in the late 80s and through the 90s and into the 2000s, Bobby was a mainstay. You didn't worry about who the manager was. You simply knew that Bobby Cox was the steadying force of those Braves teams. And I don't know if people understand how hard it is to manage, multiple Hall of Fame players, future Hall of Famers, Chipper and Fred McGriff, and, of course, Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddux. Just tremendous amount of talent that came through Atlanta. And then a tremendous amount of expectations. And, every season people were expecting the Braves to be the best or one of the best teams in baseball. And Bobby brought the first world championship in a major sport to the city of Atlanta with that 1995 team. And, that team obviously very special in a lot of our hearts, as is the 2021 team, I know, for everyone and younger people. But Bobby and that group did it first, and Bobby and John Sherholtz resurrected or really created a great Braves team that went on a tremendous run, and we're still living the benefits of that today. The Braves were not very good when they moved to Atlanta, and they rarely made the postseason for a very long time. And thanks to Ted Turner as well, and then Bobby and John Sherholtz, they turned it around and they created a perpetual winner in Atlanta. So, want to welcome aboard my partner, my battery mate, Mike. Mike, welcome. I've just been kind of talking Bobby and the tremendous contributions that he's made or he did make to the Braves. And really, Mike, the Braves, their early years in Atlanta throughout the 70s, of course, we had Hank chasing the home run record. That was really the main storyline for the early Braves in Atlanta. And they did make the postseason. They actually, I don't know how many people will remember this, but the Braves lost to the Miracle Mets in '69 in the first league championship series, National League Championship Series. And they made the postseason a couple times in the early 80s with Murphy MVP years. But the mid to late 80s were rough, and they went through a couple managers, Russ Nixon, Chuck Tanner, and then Bobby returned to the Braves. And I remember my grandparents, who I've mentioned before, were big Braves fans and had watched the Braves for a long time. They were excited. They liked Bobby, and so he came back, and John Sherholtz came aboard, and things started to turn around for our Atlanta Braves. So, it's such a weird and kind of, I guess, appropriate that Ted and Bobby passed so close to each other, because without both of those guys, we probably don't have the Atlanta Braves franchise we have today.
Very true. Yeah, like if those two were the architects of what happened in the 90s and the dominance that we had. Ted said it himself in a quote that I saw the last couple of days, saying that it wasn't, he guided us, but he wasn't very good as a GM. And when he hired Bobby, he's like, okay, I'm basically saying it was going to take his hands off and let him do it, and that's what happened.
Yeah, Ted was smart enough, at least after his initial foray into managerial. He managed one game. Ted was smart enough, I think, to get out of the way. And I was talking to Mike before you got on about how, I don't want to overlook Ted. I mean, I think Bobby is, we knew more about Bobby because we watched the games every night. But, without Ted, you're probably not a Braves fan. I mentioned this before you got on. I mean, you live in Boston. And I mentioned through my social media adventure the last 3 years, creating Romantic About Baseball, I've met so many fans from across the country who are Braves fans because of TBS and Turner Sports. So, yeah, I mean, I know in your case, right? I mean, that was the impetus for you becoming a Braves fan.
Oh yeah, completely. If it wasn't for the fact that I had TBS up here in Boston, I wouldn't have. There was the only other option for me was the Mets, and I wasn't going to watch the Mets.
So really, you had no options. I mean, let's just be
correct.
honest.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I had no options.
So I want to welcome a special guest. This is JP Wood. This is my son. JP is grown up a Braves fan. He now lives in Boston, ironically. So he's actually physically closer to you right now, Mike, than he is me, which is weird.
Yep, you're correct.
But JP was he was born in 2000, so he got to see a good bit of Bobby's final years in Atlanta, and I'm sure he has some memories. JP, we've just been talking about the effect of Ted Turner and how there are so many Braves fans across the country because of TBS Sports, including Mike. And then also Bobby's effect, the adoration, the admiration that we've seen coming out on social media from former players, colleagues, opponents, Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox. Just want to give you a chance to say whatever was on your mind about Bobby and Ted and just those early years of you being a fan and knowing Bobby was the manager and still a little bit in the TBS days before those ended.
Yeah. So when my for till I was 17, anytime you were going to a Braves game, it was at Turner Field. So just that in itself was kind of the house that he built, in that case, or I guess that the Olympics built and he took over. But I think for me, I don't think I was able to fully appreciate either one of them until I don't think I was fully able to appreciate Ted Turner and his effect on the Braves until I was a lot older. Same with Bobby Cox. I don't think I was able to fully appreciate what he meant to the team until he was gone. Just because, for me, Bobby was just kind of always there, and I didn't realize how special it was. Yeah, I think he retired around the time I was 13 or 14, or maybe a little bit sooner than that, maybe 11 or 12, but somewhere around there. And it was just like he always was. So I never knew, and maybe it was take it for granted probably isn't the right word, but like, certainly it's hard to really appreciate what you have when you don't know what life is like without. And so for me, for the longest, like there were just some things about the Braves that just were. And it was that they played at Turner Field. Bobby Cox was the manager. These things didn't change. So, speaking to Ted Turner's influence, a few weeks ago, I'm teaching middle school technology, and a few weeks ago, I started a kind of a mass communications and mass media unit with my middle schoolers. Now they can appreciate it; they don't care, but my administration told me to teach what I know, so I'm teaching what I know.
Right.
And Ted Turner came up because we're talking about just like TV and movies and media. And, I talked about how Ted Turner changed the game when he came in, and, he comes with this, at the time you would have had like 3 over the air TV stations. If you watch TV, you watch 3 channels. And then, Ted Turner, I don't know if he was the first, but certainly maybe the first major guy to come along with a cable network that everybody could access. And, then he starts the first 24-hour news channel. And, not only all that, but then he buys a baseball team that he can fill, the time on the air with his, and for me, growing up in the South, but growing up in the rural South, Atlanta is your New York City. Atlanta is the big city. And so much of like going to Atlanta is revolves, or, even now you drive through town on 75, 85, and you got the big TBS Warner headquarters building right there. And, not to mention the incredible legacy of the NWO, all made possible by Ted Turner.
That's right.
So, for me, it's for somebody who's pursued now a background in broadcasting and all, like Ted Turner was just kind of was also like present and his was like a giant for me in that sense too. So for Bobby though, like I think it definitely came a lot later, me being able to appreciate like what he meant to the Braves, because growing up is just, he was always there. I don't think I really understood what that really meant till later.
Yeah, that's great stuff. No question. Ted definitely changed. He changed network television, cable television in general. He really changed sports television for good. I mean, we're in an age now where a lot of the main sports events that you're used to being on broadcast television are now on cable or streaming, like the NCAA tournament, the Final Four. And Ted really kicked off an era of being able to watch a team. Of course, WGN did as well with the Cubs. But, Ted was a flamboyant kind of guy. He was brash. And, he was determined, I think, to make the Braves a winner, even though they went through some rough years under his ownership. Ultimately, he's responsible for this right here, 1995, and that World Series trophy. And of course, Bobby played a huge part in that. And I don't know that people really understand outside of Atlanta. What you said was kind of funny, JP, but also very true. I think, for us down here in the South, Atlanta is our big city. It's our New York, right? We grew up 3 hours south of Atlanta in South Alabama. And, for us to drive to a quote unquote big city, it was Atlanta. And for that sports team to win a major championship, look, sports have been in Atlanta for a long time now. The Hawks, the Falcons, the Braves, briefly some hockey teams, no world titles until 1995, and unfortunately none in between until 2021 for the Braves. No offense to you soccer fans out there, Atlanta United, we love you, but I'm not sure we include that one in there. But 1995 was huge, and those two guys were the architect of that, and they both got to hold that trophy that now sits at Truist Park that I go and visit every time I go to Truist, because that night still brings some tremendous memories for me, and forever thankful for those two guys and their contributions to that. Of course, the players that were on that team. Mike, any memories there of 95 and how important that was in your younger Braves fandom days?
Well, let's see, 95. I just
You were
graduated
18.
high school.
Yeah.
Just graduated high school. In college, I remember watching the World Series partially at college, and just no one else cared because
Right.
no one didn't matter to
Braves and
anyone else.
Indians,
Yeah, they're like, okay, it's not the Red Sox, so who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
the politically incorrect World Series of '95, Braves and Indians. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I remember I actually was home when we won it in Game 6, and literally cried
Yeah.
to see when Marquise Grissom just curled off and made that catch. I started bawling.
Absolutely. I still tear up listening to the radio call, Skip. The Braves have brought you a championship, Atlanta. And we're not technically Atlanteans, if that's what we call ourselves, but I feel like part of Atlanta the sports history there, and the Braves especially. So, just to lose both those guys in the same week. I said earlier, I think before you got on, JP, it's kind of poetic in a way, though, because they were both so important to the sports fabric of Atlanta, and particularly the Braves. So in some ways, if they both had to pass on at this time within a week of each other, it kind of feels appropriate.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Yeah, they're so linked that it feels like if we don't feel like we should lose either of them, but eventually they're going to go anyway. That's just how life is.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they went together, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, none of us are getting out of here alive, so they might as well, if they got to go, it might as well. It was such a shock. I got the news. I was in my car. I was actually waiting on my wife. She was in a shop that I didn't want to go to, and I was in the car and just following social media, and I saw an X post actually, and then I started getting messages left and right from various people, and hit me pretty hard. She came to the car, and I had teared up pretty good, and had to explain what had happened. So, it was a tough week, because a lot of that for us that never met Bobby Cox. I never met Ted Turner. But for a lot of us that are considerably older than my son there, it was part of our childhood. It's part of our childhood that's gone. It's like losing the broadcasters one by one, Skip Carey and Pete Van Wieren and Ernie Johnson. Those were all very emotional losses. And Don Sutton, Hall of Fame pitcher Don Sutton, and broadcaster. So just another notch in the old belt of losing some of these people that were so important to us in our younger days. So I would invite anybody that's watching on X. We have several viewers on X right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you want to comment, please feel free to do so. We'll get the comments on the air. And Mike, any other thoughts while we kind of give people time if they want to make any comments here, or JP, either one?
Go ahead, JP, if you want to. You got something?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's fine.
He's at a loss.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Dynamite drop in
was really paying off.
Yeah. I mean, look, we got several people watching, but if you don't, feel comfortable sharing, that's okay. But we'd love for you to drop us a comment if you'd like. Recently we were fortunate enough to talk to two guys that knew Bobby pretty well, Brian Hunter and Mark Fredrickson, and I invited both those guys if they wanted to jump on. They were both tied up. But they both tell stories about Bobby, and you could tell the one thing that I've seen from everybody that shared a story about Bobby is just this admiration for the guy, this respect for the guy that you don't always see from guys he was a winner. Bobby was a winner, and sometimes that can translate to a personality that maybe people don't gravitate to, but Bobby just showed respect. And one thing that I said on Nick's show last night, Mike, was Bobby treated people like professionals. He treated them like grown-ups. He didn't babysit them. And I thought that was a big deal. And I think it's one of the reasons why you hear these players. He also gave them confidence. I just before we came on, I saw Keith Lockhart, commenting that, even when he wasn't hitting well, Bobby would make him feel like, hey, you're having a pretty good season. You can hit anybody. And that's obviously a huge part of what a manager does is keeping that morale up. I don't know if we'll ever see another Bobby Cox, though. As far as holding people accountable, we talked about that last night on Nick's show as well. If if you're not following Rounding Third Baseball on Facebook, please do. Those guys are great. They had a great show last night. Talked a lot about Bobby. And Harrison said, I don't think we'll ever see another Bobby Cox. And they may be right. It's a different game now. I don't know. I think it's a different era, unfortunately, that we probably won't see another Bobby.
I saw a quote from Smoltz the other day that said, like, part of what made it easy to stay in Atlanta as long as he did is he wanted to play for Bobby.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, that's an echo sentiment. That's a sentiment echoed by a lot of players who played for him. And I'm thinking in terms of just like as culture builders go in sport, a lot of people would attribute, say like Belichick's time in New England in the NFL. Like he built the Patriot way, and that was the culture there. And that's why they won so many games. But I think you can accredit even the culture that still exists in the clubhouse in Atlanta today to Bobby. And you can draw a through, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but guys like Freddie Gonzalez, Brian Snicker, and now Walt Weiss were all kind of underneath Cox in the organization in some way, shape, or form while he was there, kind of disciples of his in a, if not directly, certainly indirectly. And, people will say like, Braves fans get big heads about, their team and all, but I don't think it's without reason or evidence to say that there's always been something a little bit different about the culture and the way things are gone about with Atlanta in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And just the way the guys talk about their time there, you don't often hear a guy, talking bad on his way out the door, And so I feel like a lot of even today, here in 2026, the culture that you see in the clubhouse in Atlanta can be attributed to him. Like he's still there. Even, and it, a lot of Braves fans were like, when they brought in Walt Weiss or when they kept Walt Weiss as the manager, like, man, we wanted some fresh blood. We wanted something new. But Weiss is keeping that through line, that kind of bloodline of started by Cox. And so it keeps that connection there, I guess. And, thank goodness nobody came in, the franchise didn't decide after Cox retired to go with the young guy and be like, we're going to tear it all down and think of a whole new way to do things. Like Atlanta in true Southern style has said, you know what, this has always worked. So why would we do anything different now?
Right. Yeah. Well, look, I think you make a good point. I mean, Snicker was a different version of Bobby. Freddie didn't quite make it, but he was definitely a Bobby disciple.
Yeah.
Weiss, I think, is the perfect combination of keeping the Braves, to your point, culture and the Braves way, and still kind of moving forward, because he's definitely a different kind of guy than Snicker was and Bobby. I don't see Bobby or Snicker, spearing Jorge Soler. So I think, we definitely have a different kind of cat in Walt Weiss, and I think he's also a little more progressive with how he thinks about the game. So, but the thread is still there, to your point. It's still definitely that Braves culture and that Braves way. And look, it's produced 14 consecutive division titles. It's produced 2 World Series titles. And a lot of people like to say, well, the Braves should have won more, and they probably should have. But there's a lot of fan bases out there that would kill to have won 2 World Series in the last 26 years, or 30 years. I mean, ask the Pittsburgh Pirates fans if they would like to have 2 World Series trophies since 1995, and I'm sure they would be on board with that. So, yeah, we could go on, and again, anybody that wants to comment, feel free to do so. We'll come back to those. I do want to kind of get into our regular rhythm here in a minute. And JP, you're welcome to stay, and we'll share any thoughts on the current Braves and what they're doing. What we typically do is just kind of recap the week real quick, and we'll try to do a little quicker this week so we don't have an hour and a half long episode. But yeah, I mean, any final thoughts, guys? I want to give you time if there's anything else on Bobby or Ted.
I'll make a comment off of yours about Walt Spear and Jorge Soler. I don't think Bobby could run fast enough
Right.
or actually move fast enough to be able to pull that off with his bad knees.
I agree.
Yeah. No chance.
I heard somebody else talk about this after he passed, but you remember when Brian Hunter was on, he mentioned that Bobby always wore spikes. He wore cleats, right? And that was the only manager that Brian said he ever saw that actually wore spikes. And I think it was Chipper maybe that mentioned that too.
I think it was Chipper. I think I saw it too.
Yeah, I heard another great story I sent to you guys today. you said you'd seen it, Mike, about Jeff Rancour getting to
Yeah.
play golf with Tiger Woods and Bobby telling him
Oh,
to fake ankle
Yeah.
injury.
Oh, yeah. Just reach down for your ankle. Make it look like
Yeah, just make it look like
a
he
sprain
tweaked
or
that
something.
ankle a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
So,
that's great.
yeah, I think again that speaks to Bobby understanding the moment, right? How many times was the guy going to get a chance to play golf with Tiger Woods, right? So, Bobby was a good guy. He was a professional, but he understood the moment, right?
All he had to do was say, "Oh, we'll put him on day to day. He's day to day. It's fine. You can come back in a couple days, and he'll be fine." The other one that I saw recently too was the when Bobby threw out the first pitch. I don't remember what year it was or whatever, and the goes up to shake the ump's hand. The ump goes, "Nope, you're gone."
Yeah, yeah. I was talking about that actually before you came on. That's a great video to watch.
Yeah,
because you can see the mutual respect there. The umpire has a sly smile on his face, and I was talking about how no matter how much Bobby probably called those guys every 4-letter word in the book, I think they all respected him, and they knew he was out there fighting for his guys, fighting for his players. So good stuff. Before I forget, Mike, because I don't want to leave it out as we transition to the current game, let's talk about your trivia question from last week. If you want to repeat the question and then give our good audience this week's answer.
All right. So the Braves have won 4 World Series in their entire career, franchise history, and they're the only team to win it in 3 different cities. Can you name the 4 ballparks that they won their home games in their 4 World Series championships?
Let's see if JP can get this one.
Can I give it now? Are we
go ahead.
good? Okay, cool.
Take
so I'll try to go backwards because the last one will be the guess. Okay, so the 4 World Series would have come in SunTrust Park. Was it still SunTrust at the time?
No,
was it
was Truist?
Was it Truist by then? Okay, well, Truist. You know what I mean. The one in Cobb County.
That's fine.
The new one.
It's the building.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for.
And then Milwaukee County.
You're missing 95.
Yeah,
95. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Atlanta Fulton County.
There you go.
And then Milwaukee County.
Yep, County Stadium.
And then this one would be the guess, but would it have been the South End grounds?
No, that's the building behind. That's right behind me there.
Yeah.
But no. Jason, did you want to guess for 1914?
I believe, and I threw this out last week, and I don't think you ever told me if I was right. I believe it was Fenway.
I was going to tell you off the air whether you were right or not.
I think it was Fenway. Was it Fenway?
In 1914, it was Fenway Park that we won.
Yeah.
Did
they move to Fenway like during the season? I think.
So, 1915 is when Braves Field opened. Excuse me.
Okay.
They were during part of the season playing at the South End grounds, but I believe there was a fire, or I could be wrong on that, but I know for a fact they played the last half of the season and the World Series games in Fenway. And then in 1915, after Braves Field had opened and the Red Sox made the World Series in 1950, they played their games at Braves Field because it held more people.
That's right. I remember that story now. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought I was right about that, but it sounds weird, doesn't it, that the Braves won a World Series with their home games at Fenway Park? Yeah.
Yep.
So a good question too would be, and I don't know the answer to this one. A good question would be, what stadium did they actually clinch those titles in? We know that. I guess it was Minute Maid Park at the time, Dyken Park now. We know that one. We know they won at Fulton County in 95. I know they beat the Yankees in 7 games in 57, but I don't remember. I think they won it in Milwaukee. Am I?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And so did they clinch in Boston in 14?
They did. Yep, they did clinch in Fenway Park, yes.
Okay. So there we go. All right. Good question. You got a new one this week, or we need to
I do.
All right,
no,
cool.
I got it.
All right.
I made sure I was prepared. As opposed to last week, you're like, oh, you got a question? And I'm like,
right. Go for it.
Half an hour before, and I got to come up with something.
You did great, though. That was a good question. That was a really good question. Yeah. So what's your new one?
All right. So this one, I based it around Bobby. Bobby Cox captained our ship for 25 combined season between the time before. There was the Toronto years in between, but combined, it was 25 seasons. Leading us to countless playoffs. This question's more of a simple true or false. Bobby Cox has a career losing record in the playoffs.
That's a good one. I'm typing it out so I can put it on the screen for everybody.
Okay.
You don't give the answer.
Nope.
I'm going to say that's true just because from about 2000 to the end of his tenure, the Braves didn't win a postseason series. So I'm going that might be true. And they played a lot of you're talking to like win-loss, right? Not series,
Yep.
win-loss.
Correct.
Yeah.
Win-loss.
I mean, we played a lot of close series, and yeah, I'm going to say that's true. But I guess we'll say we'll find out next week, right?
You will. You'll find out next week.
All right, I'm typing it out just to put it on the screen. And here we go. So there we go. So Bobby Cox, 25 years, and we went to the postseason many of those years. So true or false, Bobby Cox has a losing postseason record. I just want to repeat this because I think it's worth, I think obviously Bobby has a ton of respect, and I've seen that from all walks of baseball this week. But just, he's the fourth winningest manager ever, and the three guys in front of him are Connie Mack, Tony La Russa, and John McGraw. So, and then the guy behind him is Joe Torre, Bruce Bochy right behind him, Sparky Anderson, Dusty Baker, some of the greatest names in baseball history. So Bobby belongs up there, Hall of Famer, and tough week for Braves fans. But kind of last minute, I'm gonna be at Truist tomorrow night, and I'm sure they're gonna do some kind of tribute. So I will not wear my contact lenses tomorrow night. I'm sure it'll be a little bit rough, but all right. Well, let's move on and let's talk some current Braves baseball because luckily it's a fun season so far. Now, we'll start with the bad news. Early in the week, the Braves played a 3-game set out in Seattle, and I didn't pull the numbers on this. My bad, but I feel like the Braves never win a series in Seattle. It's not like we've played a ton there, but that's where baseballs go to die too. Like the Braves obviously we're not built around power like we have been in the past, but still very much a power-oriented team. It's hard to hit home runs out there. And we had a couple that I could swear were headed out of the ballpark and ended up landing in a Mariners glove. So 3 close games, and the Braves end up losing their first series of the year. And, of course, it comes to a team that is struggling against everybody else. I think they had just been swept by someone going into that series. We lose 2 out of 3, Mike, JP. We knew we were going to lose a series at some point, so not a big shocker. But, any overall thoughts on the series, Mike, before we talk kind of quickly individually about the games?
Yeah, kind of shocked that it was the Mariners that we lost the series, finally lose the series to. I would have figured it was the Dodgers coming up after them, but no, it was the Mariners. I mean, they have good pitching, so I'm not terribly shocked at it. And Kirby was great in his start. Gilbert was pretty good. I mean, he did let up a bunch of homers.
Brian Wood carved us up. I mean, Brian Wood looked like Sandy Koufax out there. He was,
They have really good pitching, so I'm not shocked that they were able to keep our offense in check.
Yeah, same. And I've got it up here. Game 1, we had 3 solo homers in the 6th inning alone. Olson, Riley, and Ozzie, I believe. And it was 4-0, and you were feeling pretty good, and then it all fell apart in the bottom of that inning. Kinley and Bummer just couldn't hold the lead, and some days it'd be like that, right? So we end up losing a close game after the bullpen kind of has a rough outing, and we'll out of respect and trying to keep this positive, I won't say too much about Aaron Bummer except $9.5 million or not. At some point, AA. All right, but let me say this too. I'm not going to question AA as much as I have in the last 365 days because I finally realized, guys, AA's best moves are the ones he hasn't made. All right, like guys that we wanted him to go out and get. For instance, Zach Littell, he has not been good at all. Framber Valdez, I mean, there's a whole list of reasons that they shouldn't have gotten that guy, right? So I could go on and on here. The moves he hasn't made to me have really been – and look, last year, the All-Star or the trade deadline, I was really all over him about not trading Iglesias. He ends up not trading Iglesias. He becomes a free agent and we re-sign Iglesias to a 1-year deal. That's a brilliant move. That was a brilliant move. It turned out to be the right move because if Iglesias gets traded, he might have signed an extension with the team we traded him to. So kudos, Double A. I'll just say that. Game 2, much better outcome. Bryce Elder. Look, I was looking at – I don't know how much stock you guys put into like the underlying metrics, but I saw it, and Mike, you may have seen this on social media today. Some Dodgers fans were posting kind of his savant page, if you will. Like his underlying metrics were basically terrible yesterday in that start. But the outcome was incredible until the bottom of the 6th inning. Same thing with Seattle. I mean, he just gets you in a position to win games. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball since last August. I pulled some numbers. He's tied for first with the most quality starts in that time. And then, of course, Matt Olson, who right now you can make a good argument is an MVP leader. 9th inning blast gives them the lead. They win game 2. Those two guys, Elder and Olson, I mean, you can add Baldwin to that. You can add DeBond to that. You can add Ozzie. I mean, there's so much production coming from this team. JP, I don't know how much you've been able to watch them this season being up there, but there's just so many guys contributing. It feels a lot like 2023 right now.
Yeah, actually, before I hopped on, I was curious. I looked up because I have felt a lot of similarities to 2023. And actually, what I was thinking, and I turned out to be wrong, was that maybe this year's offense was actually less dependent on the long ball. Although here's 2 things. 1, I'm wrong. 2, I don't even think it's fair to say that 2023 offense, as vaunted as it was, like, you know, the Team Silver Slugger Award, you know, I don't even think it's fair to say that team was dependent on the long ball. They just were really good at hitting them, you know? Yeah. So, but anyway, that got me thinking, and I looked it up. And so here's what we have through 40 games on the season in 2023. That team had hit 62 home runs. Through the same amount of games this year, they have hit 57 home runs. So they are close, but not quite on the pace. Now, that 2023 team was something else entirely, but also this year's team, guys like Acuna, if I'm not mistaken, that was Acuna's MVP year, so that would have been a 40 home run season from him. Yeah. So he hasn't even had the chance to do anything like that yet. So let's just assume the best, and when he's back, and when he finds his power swing, maybe that pace does catch up or surpass 2023, because they're not far behind right now, and that's kind of the incredible part. But I think what this year's team may have that 2023 team did not have is even better pitching in the rotation and out of the pen. Yeah. And that's comforting because to talk about like this M's series, this might be the best rotation in a 3-game series you could face this year, unless we had happened to catch like Otani, Yoshi, Roque in LA, and that might be what you come. But I think if you look at like that, like these are the 3 best possible pitchers out of rotation we're going to face in a 3-game series this year, and you look at how the offense did, I don't think you come away with any worry. You're like, a couple of games didn't go our way. Obviously their pitching turned up. Somebody like Brian Wu had been struggling. I was listening to Ben before that game started talk about how much he'd been struggling, how much he was just in the dumpster.
You just knew it was coming at that point.
Right then, I was like, well, lost today, Ben Wu's about to become Cy Young. And he did.
He was incredible. The movement on his pitches was just stupid good. So, some days you just run into that. That's all you can do.
And I think, and maybe our Braves fan audience will get this. Maybe all of you guys have felt and Dad, you and I have talked about this, the paranoia of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Where's the catch? When is it going to happen? Yeah. And I think, and if I know Braves fans, and if we're all the same in this way, then even after these series that go well, you're looking for something where you're just like, you're looking for the red alarm that's starting to go off.
I'm waiting right now to get swept by the Cubs. I mean, I just feel like it's coming,
So looking at that Seattle series, and it's the first time we drop one all year. It's the first time we drop a series all year. I can't say that anything really sticks out as being like, I'm not like pointing like, there it is. There's that one thing that was getting us, because everything's been solid. You were
Yeah.
always going to have a couple games that went a little sideways. Seattle didn't go our way, but are we? But then we went into LA and stole 2 out of 3. So I think if you ask most Braves fans before the West Coast trip started, if they'd be okay with what it ended up being 7-3, or
6-3.
6-3.
6-3. And then you'd have the series win over the LA. I don't think anybody would care about dropping the series to the M's.
No, we kind of talked about this, me and the wife, last night. We're kind of glad now that that's out of the way, because the pressure would just keep building if we were still unbeaten in series. So we got one.
Wouldn't you have much preferred it be the Mariners and the Dodgers? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it'd be a much different feeling if our first series loss came. If we're meeting tonight, we're talking. We just dropped 2 out of 3 to LA for our first loss.
The offense struggled in Seattle, but I will say again, that ballpark does not lend itself to great offense. The Mariners struggle there, even with guys like Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh's over his last 32 or something crazy.
Over 34 now.
34. So the Braves batted 198 in that series. They were 19 for 96. In that series. They hit 5 homers, but 2 of those were Matt Olson, and 3 of those came in 1 inning. So the rest of the innings they played, they hit 2 homers. So it was rough. There's no doubt about it. And as long as we don't end up playing the Mariners in the World Series and have to play 3 or 4 games in that ballpark, I think they'll be okay. The last game of the series, again, the offense struggled. But look, the encouraging thing, if you want to find a silver lining, Martin Perez pitched another pretty good game. I mean, he was good enough that they could have won had they gotten some offense. The one thing that, JP, you're right. I'm going to look for something to worry about, right? I still think, and we've seen a little bit of it. We've seen it from Grant Holmes. We saw it from Ronaldo Lopez, who's kind of a mess right now. The regression from the starting rotation. Like, I'm interested to see how Holmes pitches tomorrow night. He's going to start that first game against the Cubs. He's been off for like 10 or 11 days now, so maybe he's straightened some things out. And look, his last start was in Colorado. You got to take that into account, because look what Strider did in Colorado, and then, my goodness, Saturday night, Strider looked like Strider, right? So
like Brian Wu out there.
He looked like Brian Wu out there. But, can Martin Perez continue to have a sub-3 ERA all year? Can Bryce Elder continue to have a sub-2 ERA all year? I doubt it. Those guys, there's going to be some regression there. But, look, on the bright side, we know we're probably going to get Waldrop back. Strider looks like, Strider can pitch like that or similar every time. Now you've got 3 solid guys in Sale. Can't believe I'm saying this. Elder and Strider. And then, J.R. Ritchie continues to develop. We get Waldrop back. Maybe we get Schwellenbach back, and maybe AA makes a move at some point too. So there's a long way to go. I'm going to try not to be that Braves fan that worries, but, we'll find something. Let's wrap up the Seattle series and get to the good stuff. Let's talk Dodgers. We got to get through the first game. And I'll be honest, like most Braves fans, going into this series, I felt like we really had to win this game if we were going to win the series. So once again, I proved how much I don't know about baseball. But Sale pitched fine. He did. Chris Sale was Chris Sale, but missed opportunities offensively. The graphic I got on the screen, the stat tells the story. 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. We left 10 guys on base. But they were right there. I thought Sheehan pitched a good game for the Dodgers, but he's not a guy that we would probably see in their top 3 come playoff time. But we just missed opportunities. Hit some hard balls. There were some good exit velocities that just didn't go where we needed them to. Dodgers caught a couple of breaks. We didn't, and that's kind of the story of game 1. I didn't feel terrible about how the game went, but I was convinced we were about to lose the series after that. Mike, any thoughts there after game 1 and how that kind of played out?
Sale looked great. He really did. But that we shouldn't be shocked by this by any means.
No.
But the offense just couldn't do anything at all. We just sputtered the entire game.
Yeah, it's amazing how these guys can hit the ball so well, and then just for a game or two, they just look lost. But good pitching will do that to you also, and then they did have some bad luck. So I was expecting to lose game 2 because the Strider that we saw in Colorado was not encouraging. And I did take into account, okay, that's Colorado, but he just didn't look sharp. He didn't look confident, and he had no command. And I did read some people saying that both him and Holmes mentioned that it's not just the altitude there that affects the flight of the ball, but it actually affects the break of their pitches and how the ball breaks when they throw it. So they're off-speed stuff. And I was like, well, maybe they're just making excuses. But, man, Strider came out against the Dodgers and just looked almost unhittable. And he's not throwing 98, 99 anymore, but he's still touching 97. Strider maybe had learned how to pitch, JP. We talked about that a lot when he got hurt. Maybe it's not just velocity for him anymore. It looks like he's learned how to use his breaking stuff. He was throwing a curveball. He was throwing his change. He was throwing a slider. Got a lot of whiffs on the slider. Maybe Strider's becoming a better pitcher because of the injury and without that velocity.
Yeah, and I think, think about where he started when he was just a flamethrower out of the pen that everybody wanted to move to the rotation, and he had a dominant fastball and he had a wipeout slider, and that was it. And that's all he needed. He had a great year that year, and everybody kind of wondered, like, well, is he always going to get by with just those things? And now we're kind of seeing him grow into being a more like versatile pitcher. And I think he's becoming I think he is a legitimate number 2 for the Braves right now, but also just like he's got a full repertoire. It's not just the overbearing fastball. It's a good fastball. It's a solid fastball, but also it's not just the wipeout slider. He's got the curve. He's got the change. And so, I think with a guy like Strider is like, he's got the immeasurable. He's got that competitive dog in him. And whether or not it was going to be, with the fastball and the slider or with a full, all 5 buttons on your PlayStation controller kind of repertoire, he was going to figure out how to be a good pitcher or how to stay as a good pitcher, I should say. And it's of all the developments I think Braves fans were hoping to see and now are starting to see of our team this year, Strider being what we saw the other night is one of the more reassuring for the kind of the long-term outlook of this team's staying power.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking, he only pitched just shy of 4 innings in that first start, but he's pitched 9 1/3 innings now between the 2 starts, 2.89 ERA. He struck out 14, which is really good. He has walked 7. That's what got him in a little bit of trouble in that first game. But he's only got 5 hits over those 9 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs. So even that start in Colorado wasn't maybe as bad as we kind of thought. He just didn't go as long in that game as we may have hoped. By the way, Bryce Elder already has a 1.7 SWAR. He's 4-1 with a 1.81 ERA. He's got a 1.006 WHIP, which is only second right now as far as somebody who's pitched significant innings to Sale at 0.87. I don't know if that can last, but, my goodness, Elder keeps proving me wrong, so I'm going to try to stop doubting him. A couple of things from this series. We talked about the Braves' dependence on the long ball. They only hit 2 in this series against the Dodgers. But they did bat 275 in this series. So they got a lot of big hits. I think it was Saturday, and we'll move on. That is Saturday. Strider, I think it was Saturday, Mike. They only had 1 extra base hit. I think they had 11 or 12 hits total, and Harris's double to the gap was the only extra base hit in that game, and they scored 7 runs. To me, that's a huge sign. That's a great sign for the offense that they don't have to always depend on the long ball.
They did have a couple more because I in my notes I put down that Albies and Olsen had back-to-back 2-run doubles, so that was giving us a 5-run lead at that point.
Was that Saturday or Sunday?
That was Saturday.
Okay, maybe it's
Sunday.
Sunday.
They both ended at 7-2, so it's kind of
maybe that's what I'm thinking.
You can definitely get them confused, but Strider looks great. All of his pitches are they're tunneling right. They're looking the exact same, but going everywhere. So that's not a bad thing. And he struck out 6 of the first 9 batters that he faced. That's absolutely insane. I kept watching. I ended up having to go to bed because I had I'd been up since 2:45 because of work, but I waited until he got to the point where he couldn't strike out 21 in the game. And I'm like, okay, now I can go to bed. So
yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, he's not going to, break a record. So I think I'll be fine and I can go to bed now.
Yeah, man, those late starts on the West Coast are rough on us old folks for sure. I've thought about starting, and now that one trip is out of the way, we may have one more West Coast trip ahead of us, but I've wanted to do like a post-game recap for the podcast, but that would have been really rough last week with Seattle and LA. So kind of glad I didn't start it then. But yeah, so Strider looked great. The Braves tie the series up, and then we go to game 3, and I felt pretty good with Bryce Elder. And again, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I mean, he's been so consistent. The kid for the Dodgers, by the way, Robleski, he came in basically not giving up anything. I think he had like a 1.25 ERA, and between the was it the second or third inning we got to him and got the 4 runs. We got the big hit from Dubon down the line, and the 9th inning when he gave up a couple of dingers, that kid was unhittable. I mean, he was mowing people down like Elder was matching him. But I mean, where do the Dodgers find these guys? By the way, they just grow them out there.
Yep.
But credit to the Braves. They got a big hit after they kind of took advantage of a mistake by the Dodgers in that inning. I think it was the second inning, and a fielding mistake. Should have been a double play. They didn't make a double play, and then Dubon comes up huge. One thing they didn't do on Friday night was hit with runners in scoring position. They made up for it on Saturday and Sunday. They got big 2-out runners in scoring position hits. Mauricio Dubon, sign that guy to an extension now, please. Keep him around for another year or two. Great utility guy. He can play multiple positions, and he's had some huge hits, including that one. So they get out to a good lead. Elder's dealing. And like I said, Robleski after that, I just want to give that kid his props because he was mowing the Braves down. We tack on a couple, though, after the bane of the Braves' existence, Max Muncy hit a 2-run shot. But the inning before that, he hit one that we thought was about to change the game and the series. And Eli White, bless that kid's heart, sacrifices his body, runs full steam into the wall, makes a great catch, robs Muncy of what would have been easily a triple that would have cut it to a 1-run game at that point, turned the momentum. Eli comes up huge. We were listening to it on the radio. Ben Ingram wasn't sure if he caught the ball or if he held on to the ball. It took a minute for him to say, okay, he's got it because his hat came off, and I think Ben thought it was the glove at first. So crazy play. I didn't get to see it till later. I was watching the replay, and he's out now, I think, in concussion protocol. He hit that wall so hard. But you go back and look at that catch Dubon made recently where he left his eye black on the wall, and Eli does this. These guys are serious, man. This Braves team, if we go back to what we were talking about earlier, I think they're taking on the personality of Walt Weiss. They're tough, they're gritty, and they're making the plays defensively that they have to make. I mean, you don't think of Eli White as a Gold Glove outfielder, but what an incredible play. Saved the momentum, probably saved the game. And Braves kept adding on. I thought that was big. And then Iglesias just does Iglesias things. Just incredible series. I thought it was huge. It's not going to mean anything in October. But for this team at this moment in this series and this week and everything that happened, I thought this was a huge series win, Mike.
Yeah, it's a confidence builder. It says to them that we can play with the Dodgers. Everyone sits there and puts the Dodgers on a pedestal. You and I said we don't have to talk about the NL West with our predictions. We're like, it's the Dodgers. So there's no question it's them. But if we can play with them, we get the thought of, hey, we're not that bad. We can play with this team and we can possibly beat.
Yeah, JP, your thoughts on taking 2 out of 3 from the champ?
Yeah, I think the whole series is a counterpoint to some of the things we talked about in our discussion about the Mariners series, where we're looking at the stats and you're looking at the underlying metrics and you're looking at, but what this team has, like you just said, that you mentioned when talking about Eli White and the play he made, is this team has whatever that fire was that was lacking last year, whatever you want to call it. It's not quantifiable. It doesn't show up in a stat sheet. It's when your team is down, think about Friday night. You're down going to the bottom of the ninth against the Dodgers. Last year, you're turning that game off in the 6th. I see how this is going to go. I know how this team is. Are any of you guys turning the game off on this team when they're, maybe because you got to go to bed? Yeah, genuine reason. But are you going to be like, because they're losing, I'm turning the game off? No. Absolutely not. Because this team has something that we didn't see last year, that we didn't see show up in the playoffs in Philly the years before that either. I think that's ultimately what is so reassuring about watching this team. Like we said, something like the development about Strider and how he's pitching is such a reassurance. But also a huge reassurance I saw on this series is Michael Harris was hitting a beach ball at the plate all weekend long. And just speaking as somebody who you were there, Dad, bought his jersey the week that he signed into an extension, like a month into his tenure in the show. That was reassuring for more than one reason. But I think ultimately the whole series is that you can underline the whole conversation with this Braves team is not they have that competitive fire, they have that Walt Weiss personality. You're not giving up on them just because they're down late in the game, and they're gonna make the plays, they're gonna find the hits. The bullpen is gonna find the outs that they just weren't finding last year. And I think this series is we can finally look, and for all of us who were waiting for the other shoe to drop, can at least point and say, you know what, I don't really have to. I feel now like I don't have to sweat until October.
Yeah, look, I will say this. I think the Braves are going to keep winning, but the Phillies are there. Like I put the Phillies pretty high on my tier rankings today, which my tier rankings aren't super serious, but they're still below 500, and I had them on my second tier. The Phillies are still coming. So the Braves need to keep the foot on the gas because I still worry about those Phillies. But if the Braves stay relatively healthy, I mean, look, they just got Ha-Seong Kim back. He's going to get back tomorrow night against the Cubs in Game 1. So you add that depth piece, and I think that allows Dubon to kind of be in the lineup every day. I would put Dubon in left most days. Yastrzemski's just a train wreck right now. Austin Riley's still trying to figure things out. I mean, they're doing this without Austin Riley really. Now, look, Austin still got 24 RBI. He's got 5 homers. I think he's got like 7 doubles. So he's not been completely useless, even though it kind of feels that way sometimes. But without him being the Austin Riley that we know he can be, and then no Acuna for the last 10 days or so, and even before that, Acuna wasn't exactly himself. And the Braves still have the best record in baseball and a 9-game lead in the division. I'll take that all day long. And I wanted to add something to what you said, JP, about Harris. Maybe the most encouraging thing for Michael Harris, I mean, he's batting Michael's at .313 with 7 homers, 23 ribbies. But the most encouraging thing, he's already got 6 walks. I'm pretty sure he's had seasons where he didn't have 6 walks. And he's only struck out 25 times. And when you compare that, like Austin Riley struck out 46 times already. Drake Baldwin has struck out 39 times. So Michael Harris being a little more pitch selective. Ozzie, only 22 strikeouts for Ozzie. You know, if Ozzie was a little better at pitch selection, I think Ozzie, we might be talking like borderline Hall of Fame candidate by the end of his career, but he just can't lay off some of his pitches. But, I mean, overall, you can't complain. There's nothing there that tells me this team is not going to continue to win games and be in it. But I would keep an eye on those dastardly Phillies. They still scare me a little bit. Mike, any final thoughts?
In the last 10.
They are. They've been winning series, which is what you want to do, and I think they've climbed within about 3 games of the 500 mark, and we don't play them again for quite a while. So basically, as long as the Phillies aren't playing the Braves or the Cubs, they seem to be okay. They lost all those games in a row, but they were all to the Braves and the Cubs. So as long as they're not playing those teams, they seem fine. Mike, any final thoughts on this Dodgers series? Obviously, good win. Now it's time to move on. Day off. Let's get to the Cubbies, who've also been really hot. They cooled a little bit over the weekend against the Rangers, but they've been on a roll lately.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe not so much about the Dodgers, but like you were saying about Dubon, like with Kim coming back, even still, I want to see him in the lineup somewhere. Like even whether he's playing in left, whether he's backing up someone, giving Austin a day off or something to that effect. Just something because he's we need to sign him to an extension of some kind. I mean, I don't see us getting rid of Yaz, but he should get the Yaz's playing time right now. Yeah,
if somebody would eat Yaz and Bummer's contract, maybe we could get a package deal with those 2 guys. And let's put Sean Murphy in there too while I'm at it. I mean, no offense to Sean, but somebody said earlier, well, we don't have the true Sean Murphy yet. I'm like, do we though? I mean,
I think we do.
Kind of been who he's been since he's been with the Braves. I know he hasn't been super healthy that whole time, but I don't know. I hope he figures it out, because if Murphy figures it out and you add that bat and the potential power that he brings, it's going to be rough on the National League the rest of the season for sure. And the National League is definitely the dominant league, definitely. But the Braves, are they the team to beat right now instead of the Dodgers? I don't know. The Brewers look pretty good. Cubs look good. I don't believe in the Padres. Sorry, Padre fans. Don't believe in them. Don't really believe in the Brewers either, to be honest with you. They'll get to the postseason and wet the bed. Yeah. All right, so we'll start wrapping things up. We've had great viewership tonight. I'm really excited about how many people have tuned in on X. Thank you guys so much. Love the participation. If you guys want to send in some comments, definitely take a shot at our trivia question. I'm going to put that back up here so you guys can think about that one for a little while. Bobby Cox, 25 years, a lot of postseason appearances. True or false? Bobby Cox has a losing postseason record. I'm going to look that up afterwards. I have my guess. I gave my guess, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. You can send us your answers if you guys want to send an answer. I've still got some Braves baseball cards I'm holding on to send somebody if they get the right answer first. Send it to braveswin9577@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you some baseball cards. And if you haven't gotten familiar with our entire network, by the way, I'll put this up here about our Patreon page. My son here, James Patrick, JP, we're going to bring him on and let him maybe guest host if he's up for it with Mike on an upcoming show. I've got some work commitments coming up next week that may need some stand-ins, and he may stand in for me on clearing the bases. I haven't worked that out yet exactly, but trying to get his face out there. Me and JP are kicking around, Mike, doing some other stuff on the RAB podcast together, maybe every couple of weeks. I'm thinking about changing that format a little bit and making it more oriented towards baseball history, and we can talk baseball movies and all the things that me and him love. And we'll talk the current game too, but maybe make that a little more historically oriented. So, JP, thanks for jumping on with us, man. It's good to see you, and I'll see you in person in a couple weeks.
2 weeks. I'm counting the days.
Today, right? Or yesterday, actually. Yeah. So.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday. Yeah.
We'll get to go watch the Braves at Fenway, so that'll be a lot of fun. And you're gonna take us around Boston, show us all the sights, right?
Yeah. I've even specifically set aside some baseball history stops for you. I want to take you to where the Southland Grounds used to be. I think it's a train station now. And then also right around the corner from Fenway or within inside of it is the hotel at which the Black Sox scandal was first discussed. And
Excellent.
So that was a pretty big hit.
Yeah,
that was a pretty big hit for the RAB podcast recently. If you're listening now and you did not, here's your chance to go listen to the RAB podcast on the Black Sox. There's a series. But yeah, I've got some baseball history stuff set up for you, and then I haven't got to do much Fenway scouting myself in the 2 trips I've made, but just from walking around a little bit, there's so many plaques to stop and read, and so we're banking on we're budgeting to get to Fenway plenty early to do some plaque reading.
Sounds great,
if you will. So
yeah, we're super looking forward to that, and he's right. It's still our most listened to episodes on the Romantic About Baseball podcast. RAB was our historical series on the White Sox scandal. We had 3 episodes, so go check that out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, whatever your preferred format is, YouTube as well. I'm still trying to get my next historical series out. It's just a lot of time, and we got a lot going on, but that'll be on the 1970s and Major League Baseball in the 70s. A lot of great stories, a lot of funny stories, a lot of interesting stories from the 1970s in baseball. The Romantic About Baseball Network, which is this is part of this podcast. Also check out our brand new podcast, the He Said, She Said Baseball podcast, where my wife and I are recounting our ballpark chasing journeys and talking Braves baseball and all of baseball. And we've also started collecting baseball cards now. I never imagined I'd be ripping baseball packs with my wife, but we are, and we're having a good time with that. So you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. And then join our Patreon page. I think this is really cool. We got several guys that have signed up for this now. $5 a month on our Patreon page. This is a Romantic About Baseball Patreon page, the mothership. For $5 a month, I'm going to send you for your first shipment. You get a baseball card organizer, a nice one with our logo on it. And then every month, I'm going to send you 4 or 5 cards and we're going to curate those cards to your desires. So if you're a Phillies fan, we'll try to send you Phillies cards. If you're a Braves fan, we'll send you Braves cards. Or if you request another team or a specific era, we will also try to accommodate that. So go to our Patreon page. I'll post the link in the show notes here and put it on X tonight as well. Go check that out and join the club. We have a private chat you can chat with as well. So a lot going on with the Romantic About Baseball Network. New stuff coming, and then also the collaboration we have every Wednesday night. Check us out. It's called Clearing the Bases. We do that with some fantastic guys from Rounding Third Baseball, who you can find on Facebook. They have a great show over there. Nick Arno is our host, and then also the NYMLB Talk guys, Rob and Chris, one Yankee fan and one Mets fan. You can imagine how good that show is, although the Mets fan is probably not enjoying that a whole lot right now. But great guys, Rob and Chris both. So we all do an Around the Horn style show, Wednesday nights live. It's streamed on our X page, but you can also find it on YouTube at the NYMLB Talk page. So just a lot of great collaborations, small baseball content creators, fans like you. We want to share the game and our experiences with you, and we want you to share them with us as well. So before we sign off, one more time, the skipper, Bobby Cox, I think we said all that can be said. There's a lot of stories that I know former players can share, and maybe we'll try to get Brian Hunter on again and share some more stories. And Mark Fredrickson, we know we're going to have Mark back on because he's got a million more stories for us. But we're going to move on. I'm sure there'll be some kind of tribute, as I said, at Truist tomorrow night. So whether you're going to be there like I am fortunate enough to be or on television, make sure you check that out. I'm sure it'll be an emotional night. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, and then we'll wrap it up here.
I should be able to watch the game tomorrow night with hopefully with a tribute to Bobby. Fortunately, because I'm off of work for the next 6 weeks.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Because I have surgery. Yeah, I should be able to catch that and see that. They'll pay a great tribute to him. I know they will.
Oh, it'll be great. It'll make us cry. JP, thanks again for joining us. Any final thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I just want to say to heck with the Mets.
Yes.
That's all.
There you go. That's all you want to say. That's excellent. Yeah. Poor Mets. I know we all feel really, really badly for them. Yeah, so the tribute tomorrow night, I know that's coming, and also free Hawaiian shirt giveaway. So I'm trying to get there early enough to get a free Braves Hawaiian shirt. So, yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who tuned in on X. We had a lot of viewers. Super grateful for you guys doing that. Hopefully we shared some good memories of Bobby, talked a little Ted Turner as well, and then our 2026 Braves off to a fantastic start. So we will see you again soon. Thank you for tuning in, and in the meantime, we'll see you at the ballpark, and go Braves.